Well, guys, I did not get a whole lot of sleep the other night. Um, I accepted an offer to purchase my duplex, which was positive and an exciting thing for me, but it had a negative side to it as well, um, because the family that's looking to purchase the property would like to occupy the entire property, which means both of my tenants are going to have to move out. Now, I realize some people might not think that's a big deal. I'm sure there's landlords out there who could care less, but I'm a pretty empathetic person, and I was certainly thinking about my tenants and what it meant for them. And I would have liked to have found somebody that would have kept it as a rental, and they would have liked the same. But ultimately, the property didn't really cash flow for me. It would in the summer months, but it was originally built as just a standard house. It was converted into a duplex, but utilities were not separated, water, electric. So I was paying all utilities. And like I said, summer months it would cash flow a couple $100. But come winter, there's times where I'm paying $50, $100 out of my own pocket, to make sure the bills are covered, which isn't a big deal. At the time, it was the best property I could find for the money. I had just sold a property prior to buying that one. I was using a 1031 tax exchange, and there just wasn't a whole lot on the market at the time worth putting my money into. I felt that this property was very undervalued for what I was buying it at, which it was. I'm selling it now a year later for quite a bit of profit. So ultimately, it was a decent property to own for the short time that I owned it. And like I said, I would have liked to have found somebody that, could have kept it as a rental and kept the renters that were in there. But ultimately, if the property wasn't cash flowing for me at what I bought it at, it's certainly not going to cash flow for the next person because I'm selling it for quite a bit more than what I bought it for. So the chances of me finding somebody who's going to keep it as a rental were slim. This is kind of a rural city, not a big population, not a lot of employment. So the only way this property would have cash flowed for the next person is if they had a ton of money to put down as a down payment, right? Had a small mortgage. And I imagine if somebody's going to put that much money down on a duplex, hoping to keep it as a duplex, they're going to be a fairly experienced investor with quite a bit of money. And no experienced investor with quite a bit of money, this property is in Park Falls, Wisconsin. No experienced investor with that much money is going to be looking for a property in Park Falls, Wisconsin. You know what I mean? So there was just no chance that the next person that was going to buy it was going to keep it as a rental. They would be losing money again unless they had a ton of money to put down. So ultimately, I had to make the decision, which was an unfortunate one for the renters. But it got me thinking. We all make choices. We end up where we end up because of the choices that we choose, and it's like how did these renters end up as my renters, and how did I end up as their landlord? 2 years ago I was paycheck to paycheck, getting further and further into debt, and I decided to invest my $3,000 into a property, and I've just kind of been working my way up since. Those were the positive, good choices that I made. I don't know what choices the renters had made throughout their life that put them where they were, but they were both older, not real old. I don't know, maybe 60s, but able-bodied people. Nothing holding them back from making the choices I made, or having a different situation, having their own homes. And ultimately, I felt that at this point I'm not responsible for what happens to them. You don't get into real estate to lose money. You know what I mean? Like, the only way they could have benefited is if I would have been willing to sell the property for less than what I bought it for. And nobody gets into real estate to lose money. And nobody would be willing to sell a property for less than what they bought it for just because it's what's good for the renters. You know what I mean? And I had to think about it this way too. The reason I'm getting rid of the property is because we're kind of headed into uncertain times. I still work full time. I work 2 jobs. I work a full-time job and a part-time job. And ultimately, going into uncertain times here, I could get laid off from my job. The renters, if for any reason they can't pay rent, and I don't have that rent to help cover the mortgage, or if my renters, I have a couple properties now, so I have multiple renters, if they could get laid off from their jobs. And like I said, this property wasn't really cash flowing. It's pretty much just a break-even property. I don't have any money set aside. If anything were to happen, if anything were to go wrong, a water heater or a furnace, it's not like I got thousands sitting in my bank account that I can take care of these things. So what I need is cash flow, and ultimately I had to get rid of this property, right? But I had to think about it, like, if something were to happen, if I were to get laid off, or one of my renters stops paying, or they get laid off from their job and it causes them to stop paying, are one of my other renters going to come to my rescue? Like, I spent so much time thinking, should I sell? It's good for me, but it's not great for the renters. It just was really weighing heavy on my conscience. Like I said, I didn't get a whole lot of sleep that night. But ultimately, I'm thinking about them and, what's best for them. But I need to think about what's best for me and my family, because the truth is, like I said, if something goes wrong, is one of my renters going to come to my rescue? Like, hey, will you start throwing in an extra $1,000, $1,500 every month for the foreseeable future to help me out because, I'm behind on my bills and yada yada? Like, no renter's going to do that. I wouldn't expect a renter to do that. Just like a renter can't expect me to make all of my decisions based on what's best for them, right? We all make our own decisions. We end up where we end up. I have to make decisions that are right for me and for my family. So, ultimately that's what made the decision okay for me. But like I said, it's still weighed heavy on my conscience. One of the renters at this property, his name is Tim. He built the property, and his kids grew up in the property, so obviously it had some sentimental value to him. And both renters, they've really made it their own property. They've got a garden in back that they tend to. A ton of deer come into this property. They love watching the deer, feeding the deer. And it was just a property that they really enjoyed. So I felt bad getting rid of it. I did write a letter here to the tenants, just kind of a general letter to both, with a little bit of personalization just in the beginning of the letter. I'll read the letter to you guys here, and I want to know what you guys think. Did I go about this the right way? Am I overthinking it? Yeah, we'll see. So this is the letter I wrote. Starts off, "Dear Tim, I wanted to start by saying that I see you as a true friend. You've been so kind and welcoming to the point that you felt like family to me. I truly enjoyed some of our talks and learning about your life. I'm writing this in hopes that I can justify my reasoning and my decision. I don't want you to dwell on negative thoughts moving forward. I'm hoping by writing this, I will jumpstart a flow of positivity that will be necessary to seek out and be aware of greater opportunities. That being said, my reasons to sell all came down to me being a single father providing for my children. They are all I have up here, and I have nobody to support me. As a man, it is up to me to take on that burden and do right by my kids. I took on a second job to ensure all the bills get paid and that I wouldn't have to increase rents drastically. However, I'm still mostly paycheck to paycheck. We're heading into uncertain times. If anything were to go wrong, say I get laid off from my job, I would be in deep trouble very quick. I have no money set aside if a water heater or furnace stops working. If for any reason a renter can't pay, I'm short on funds to pay the bills. My family situation could turn badly so quickly, and nobody's going to come to my aid. Understand that this wasn't the decision that I wanted to make, but it's the right decision as a man providing for his family. I pray that you will walk away with hope in your heart that something even better will come along. I hope that you see an opportunity to reach out to close friends and family for temporary support. I hope this strengthens those close bonds. I understand that right now this is just unfortunate and not what you wanted. This decision weighed extremely heavy on my conscience. Ultimately, I believe that everything turns out just right. I know that if you look to the future with happiness and a vision of greater opportunity, that's exactly what you'll find. Finally, I've been praying for greater opportunities to come your way. I will continue to do this, and I hope it helps to manifest just that. I'm hoping I'll get a letter one day saying, "Adam, you were right," and a detailed description of an even happier life. Please keep in touch if you would still like. You can call or text anytime. I sincerely hope I will hear from you in the future with a positive message. My prayers are with you. So that's the letter I wrote. Yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. You know, did I way overthink it? Have you guys been in the same situation where you've had to basically get rid of good renters? You know, these were good people. They paid on time all the time. But again, you know, I had to make the right decision for me and my family. So let me know what you guys think. Have you been in this situation? What did you do? Did I go about it right? Would you have gone about it differently? What did I do wrong? I want to hear your guys' thoughts and comments. So comment on this one if you can. It's greatly appreciated. And other than that, like and subscribe for more.